yelling at the mic. Why are you always yelling at the mic?
I'm always yelling at the mic. How's that ice cream treating you?
I needed this. Dark truffle.
Oh, dark
You know
truffle chocolate ice cream, yeah.
I can see why you wouldn't like it.
Yeah, it's a little much. It's like bitter. It's got that dark chocolate bitterness.
It's like
to
borderline, like kind of feels almost like it's a little healthy.
Yeah.
Like there's like there's antioxidants
Like this
in
is
here.
good for me. Yeah. And it's like I don't want that. I only want things that are bad for me.
That's not why you eat ice cream.
My body. Yeah.
You eat ice cream as an indulgence.
I have a sort of a worsening in its severity addiction to poutine that's been ever increasing. And
I can document that.
Yeah. I got it 2 nights in a row. I had it last night and then I had it the night before as well. I guess I shouldn't say what day it is now then.
It's Remembrance Day.
It is Remembrance. Hey, everybody, welcome to Mission Stories. This is Mission Stories, the podcast where we talk about interesting, cool stuff about LDS missions and other Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint stuff. Lyndon's nodding his head. Give me those props, man. I want those props.
Thank you, Troy.
For what?
And sometimes we discuss Mormon culture.
I just
We don't say that word.
had a mini freak out. Yeah, because we don't say that word, and we shouldn't. Nor should we.
It's a swear word.
It's a swear word now. What once was the official website of the church is now a swear word. Isn't it funny how things can change on a dime, Lyndon?
Mm-hmm.
On a diggity dime. We got a few things to talk about today. It's just us. It's you and I. And you're eating some ice cream because your blood sugar was low. You just came from playing basketball.
I was feeling a little low energy.
Yeah.
I thought I could use a snack.
You're like, I'm going to eat on mic. And that's when I think that's a good idea.
We spent a lot of time catching up.
Yeah, we did. Learned lots of fresh stuff from your personal life, and as we know, that's just not for the podcast, because a lot of people were thrown under buses, and a lot of people were spoken ill of.
Yeah,
and so we can't do that on the air.
But now we got a time crunch.
Yeah, we are.
So now
when do you go? We are.
So now I got to
That
eat
was a
ice
long
cream
time.
while we record.
I know, and I ate like a bowl of cereal too while we were like. I could have been doing that while you were explaining sort of your stories, but like, anyway, so then I didn't. So anyway, now you're eating ice cream on mic, and that's fine. What was I going to say? I had a little thing before. I think it's gone into the ether as these things. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Basketball. Dude, what are you playing with fire? You're always like playing with fire. On the day we're going to record, you're playing basketball again.
Yeah, I mean,
Your lip looks
Fingers
fine, by the
crossed.
way.
yeah, it healed up pretty nicely.
Yeah, it's like nothing was even happened. It's almost like it was never even necessary for you to get stitches.
Well, kudos to the doctor
Yeah,
who made it so that you don't notice.
right. And thank you to that doctor who shall not be named. What was his name? Her name?
He had like a
He.
weird Swedish name. Like he was from like Northern Europe or something.
We don't want...
His name was like Dr. Kierkegaard or something.
Dr. Reykjavik.
Yeah.
That's a city. We're well informed here at the podcast. All right, we got some... let's just get into it, I guess. Well, how are you? I guess I always ask you how you're doing, but...
Even better now.
Even better now. Yeah, the ice cream did sort of pump you up with some vigor, some vim.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I needed a little more vigor and vim. I'm a little low energy today. That was the first thing I ate was that bowl of Vector today, so I think it was good that I ate that.
Yeah, I rely on you to jazz me up.
And I was a little low on jazz. So, no, but we're doing good now. Jazz. What's for dinner? We got an email, Lyndon.
Let's hear about
For
it.
the first one we've had in like a long time, and I like how this person mentions that. It's from Andrew Cacao. He says, "Hey guys, noticed you're not getting a lot of mail these days, so I thought I'd try to drive some content for you." And Andrew, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for that. Troy, I don't know why you didn't call me in your filler episode. Frankly, I'm a little hurt. You know, I was gonna call my one companion to just get him on the phone and see what's going on with that. Oh, actually, we have a little thing from my companion. He does like impressions, so maybe we'll put that at the beginning or the end of this episode. But anyway, so I should have called him, I guess, or called someone. Maybe we should do that more. Just like call people
Out of the blue.
Yeah. And just have them on the podcast.
We could probably call Andrew right now.
Yeah.
See what he's up to.
Do you think we should?
Nah.
Maybe we'll schedule it, maybe. We'll see. Because I know he has opinions because I've pre-read this email. So he continues. Bryce's episode was powerful. That was Bryce Hardy. We were talking about pornography. He continues, I wish you'd done a part 2 for the can of worms Lyndon opened at the end. What do you think? Do I continue to read this part or what?
Let's just get in. I'm not sure. When I first heard can of worms, I thought he was talking about when I started talking about chastity, but no.
Okay.
This is a different can of worms I opened. Let's read it.
Okay.
He wrote it. He wants it on the air.
All right. He says, I say that because okay, so I wish you'd have done a part 2 of the can of worms Lyndon opened at the end. I say that because of the impression that Bryce and his girlfriend are waiting until he can be 100% certain he will never look at porn again. I might be wrong here, but that's the impression I got. I wish he had more time to flesh out that issue. I hope he gets the chance to finish his story on this podcast, even the Mission Stories podcast. That was epic. That was an epic ending. Whenever someone says even the Mission Stories podcast or even our Savior, Jesus Christ. So, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, here's the problem.
Did we cut him off? Should we have let him talk longer?
We didn't really cut him off because that's something he doesn't want to talk about. And then,
Right,
of course, here's a response to something he was talking about, and he's not here to answer.
No.
So we could sit here and speculate on his behalf.
And we should.
But that would be
And let's do
borderline irresponsible.
Here we go. This is what he was really saying.
What he really meant to say was, I don't know.
No, he was a good guest. That was an interesting episode. I was like listening. I was listening back to it, and I could hear myself just walking the tightrope of like that whole topic almost the whole time. Of like, I was like, don't say anything stupid. Don't say anything stupid. Don't say anything bad. But ultimately, I think it did end up being pretty good. I think that tightrope walk is part of what makes it an interesting episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? It brings up an interesting question about pornography and its usage and the nature of addiction itself. I feel like I'm walking that tightrope again. But because what I'm trying to say is that is it really for someone, a hypothetical person, of which there are many real ones inside the church, who have struggled with pornography addiction or usage or its detrimental habitness of it. Is it realistic to even say that, like, I'll never look at porn again, right? Let's get married now. Is that even a possibility? Or should they just sort of go in being like, yeah, there's going to be, I think Bryce sort of mentioned this actually, but like, do you go into it being like, there will probably be screw-ups in the future. Let's just be aware of it and let's keep a finger on the pulse kind of thing.
I think so.
Come up on this tight wire with me, Lyndon.
I mean, I got pretty good balance, but I mean, I don't know. Because it's like, they're like, let's get into the specifics of Bryce.
Right.
It's like, well,
let's not.
But then it's like, have people gotten divorced because of pornography addictions? Mm-hmm. I think that has happened.
For sure it has, yeah.
I think there's numbers attached to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why? What could you do differently to keep those marriages strong?
And is that...
And I feel like he has done that. Because he's upfront.
He's honest, yeah.
And it's like, I think, if you're working as a team... Mm-hmm. You'll be great.
Do you think the divorces come as a result of, and here we go again, just like, what do you think causes divorce with pornography? I think.
Let's weigh in.
I wonder if part of it's like the surprise factor, right? If someone's keeping it a secret,
Yeah.
and if they can't, if they're all out of the blue, they're like, check me, or they get caught. That's a bad one, right? To be caught doing something, because then it kind of is a betrayal. It's more of a betrayal that you're keeping it a secret, probably, right? Even it's like the thing itself is a bit of a betrayal, but then like I would say even more of a betrayal is that secret that you're keeping from your significant other. But I also wonder if women, like, could marriages have been saved if both parties had a better understanding about pornography usage? And Bryce did mention this as well, but like it's why people use it, when they use it, sort of like, is it a response to some external or internal stress that's happening? If there was more understanding, maybe there could be more. I don't know. Marriage is saved. I'll just say it. I mean, I
might have had a listener who thought that it's not really a betrayal for the women in the way that they think it is. Because it's like if someone was keeping a secret, like, oh, by the way, I'm a heroin addict.
Right.
That affects both of them. But they feel betrayed because it's just like, oh, we're supposed to share this sort of sexuality thing. And if you're looking at pornography, it means you're not attracted to me, or you're just more attracted to this fake thing.
I'm not enough.
Yeah.
Is what they're thinking.
Is how they feel. And I guess those are like valid feelings. Of course, if only we had female listeners, they could, weigh in on this. But that's not the case, so we'll just go ahead and speculate. And
we have like a couple. We have like 3 or 4.
And then, they could be like, it's the addiction. It's so, I think in a lot of cases, because they're like, this is a form of infidelity. That's like, but is it?
On a sliding scale, and this is an interesting sort of subtopic about severity of crime in terms of chastity and in terms of, I guess, word of wisdom, and any one of our subtopic branches of ways that you can sin in our church.
Yeah, I got a little philosophical exercise now.
There's like degrees of severity, right? So
yeah, it's like let's set up the line. Going out for lunch with your female coworker. Worse.
That's interesting.
Worse than looking at porn.
Worse than looking at on the overtly sexual thing like pornography, or sort of a subvert. Is that what I'm trying to say? So below the line, like it's a little inappropriate to be sort of developing an emotional friendship or relationship with a woman who isn't your wife. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
I think that's fair to say. I know, like, I think some people might be like, you can have friends. Well, can you? I don't know. I think you can have acquaintances.
Yeah,
you can have people you sort of associate with. But I think the moment you start, we're just making all sorts of opinions.
Rather than agree that both are wrong and you shouldn't do them, I want to rank them.
Yeah. if you're gonna do one of them, here's which one you should do. That's a good question. I might say, and keep it in mind, maybe. Okay, this is interesting. So if you say that these are both one-time things and that neither of them will lead to something more, maybe the lunch.
You think it's worse?
Is better.
Better.
But that lunch could lead to something worse.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? But the pornography could also lead to more excess. I mean, it's all the idea, I think, that we have been told, and it probably has truth to it, is that this is a progressive thing. Do you know what I mean? Like the porn leads to the
it's like the
prostitutes.
The changes in that was Brad Wilcox, I think.
Yeah.
That one.
That you're 35 paying for sex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're 35 paying for sex. I remember there was a guy on my mission who did a like a little presentation, a fireside about pornography addiction and everything. And my mission president made it like mandatory for all the elders to go to see it. And I think they recorded it and they gave it to even those who weren't able to see it. So they circulated it in our mission. Was there any, did you know of any like people who were like looking at pornography on the mission, or if they were sort of sneakily?
The only thing I heard about is near the end of my mission when I entered into leadership.
Ooh.
And there was talks, and we were talking to my zone leader, who was also my MTC companion, and he was asking the mission president about elders who were like masturbating. And it's like he had like data on this because they always told him.
Sorry, who are the people involved again? Sorry,
missionaries.
Missionary, and your mission president is asking you about this?
No, my zone leader is kind of asking me about this.
Okay,
because he was asking the mission president. The mission president's like, there are a lot of elders in this mission masturbating.
Oh, interesting.
And he's just like, well, shouldn't they be
not doing that?
shouldn't they get sent home for that? Or it's like, how could you possibly have the Spirit with you at all while you're doing that?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, a lot of them are, so that's the reality.
So what are you supposed to do? Send them all home? We wouldn't have a mission then.
So it's like, I never heard about pornography use.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you would. We had like flip phones and no internet.
I remember one guy he snuck a iPod Touch into the mission. This was like back in the early days of that technology.
Right.
So he had an iPod Touch, and I remember like we were the assistants. I know. Everyone relax, calm down. I was an assistant. Anyway, so we go into this room and sort of like storm in. As I don't know, we kind of just did that. We both just sort of like stormed into each other's apartments after, at nighttime. And so we like go in and we're like, "What's up? What's up?" And then this one elder like he quickly dives under his pillow and like shoves something under, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" Later, we found out I think he was just emailing family or something, or communicating outside of the mission.
Well, how do you get Wi-Fi? Just apartment
I think
Wi-Fi?
he had data or something. I think he had
a
some
data
sort of
plan on an iPod Touch in 2009?
Possibly. He was using it to, I don't know how he was doing it, but apparently he was. Else, why would you have it? Or maybe he just had a bunch of music on it. I don't know. I just remember having to round up a couple of people's iPod Touches or something, because someone else was a little more forthcoming with it. But I have it like, so my dad. This is my dad's mission story. He was in New Zealand back in, I don't know, late 80s sometime, early 80s, and so he like got in with a new companion, and then the zone leaders or district leader or whatever came and did like a search of their apartment, because that's what I guess they still did that in our missions, I guess, like check for cleanliness. So that's what they were doing. Apparently they found a big old stack of Playboys somewhere.
Wow.
And they thought it was my dad's, and he's like, "That ain't mine, man." And turns out it was his old companion, because he was dealing with homosexual feelings, and that was one of the, like, I don't know, methods of
therapies,
treatments for it or something, was to look at pornography, I guess. So that's kind of a.
Was that a home remedy, or who prescribed it?
I don't know, but it's a good way to get out of being caught with a stack of Playboys, isn't it? So I don't know. So that was sort of that weird little story, but that kind of happened on my mission too. Like, there were these guys who I think that they just went sort of searching through their apartment and just kind of exploring, and they went up into the ceiling for some reason, and then up there was a bunch of porn, and then they like fell through the ceiling onto the ground, and there was even like even more pornography than they could have ever imagined. They could have opened up a store and, you know, made some side money with how much porn there was in the roof of this mission apartment. So there was some fallout, and there was some investigations that occurred, and anyway, so I think I ended up there was some emergency transfers that occurred, and I got one of the missionaries affected by that fallout. But so I don't know. That's I don't know. That was sort of pornography on the mission and how all the things that I had heard about it on my mission. Anyway,
so I hope Andrew is satisfied.
There we go. This has been the Porncast, the Porn Stories podcast. That's our only email for the day.
Yeah.
I got a special announcement though.
What's that?
We're on Spotify.
Spotify.
Ever heard of it?
You know, I have. I have been known to use it.
So there you go. If you want to use, if you've been sort of on the fence, you'd be like, it's so hard to listen to. Well, now it's also on Spotify, so check it out.
So if you want to listen to ads during our podcast, you want to listen to Spotify ads.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know.
Or, you know, get Spotify Premium.
Or whatever. I don't know.
I guess we have to advertise for them now.
Yeah. They are a sponsor now. We don't get any money from it, but whatever. It's fine.
Another way to listen.
What else do you want to discuss, Lyndon?
Well, I guess, you know, the reason that we're able to play basketball and podcast today.
Mm-hmm. A Monday.
Yeah. Remembrance Day. So it's always interesting. There's always talk about wearing poppies and what is that?
I mean, it's from Titanic, but I think it's a good like Remembrance Day
little tune.
I was gonna sort of do music in the back. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyways, talking about Remembrance. I mean, I felt so patriotic. Mm-hmm. We were singing "O Canada" in sacrament meeting, opening hymn, all 4 verses. Ooh. And I got a little panicky at the beginning.
Why?
Because, you know, they like legally changed the first verse. And I was thinking, I was like, I don't even know what they changed it to.
Yeah.
And I was like, are there going to be people? Is it like going to be like general conference? People are like, nay.
No.
Half the crowd's going to sing like the new lyric.
They took God out of it, right?
No. It was in
what is it?
All Thy Sons Command.
Uh-huh.
They wanted to make that like gender neutral or something.
Oh.
So I don't know what they changed it to, but obviously the hymn books haven't changed.
Right.
And it's kind of one of those things where like the argument for keeping it in, because when they say "in all Thy Sons Command," they're referencing the troops, the soldiers,
right? Yeah,
who historically and continue to be sons, men.
They make up the majority of the people in the military.
So I'm just like, oh my gosh, what are people gonna sing? I don't even know what the new lyric is.
Yeah.
But of course, everyone just powered on "in all Thy Sons Command."
All Thy Sons. They emphasized it. They're like, Sons Command.
Yes, patriarchy.
Like, hoo-ah!
Yeah, and then I love, like, you know, it keeps going. The fourth verse is just all about God.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah,
yes. It's like Genesis 1, and then it just goes on to read the whole Bible.
It's just like, God save this dominion with God's grace. Save the dominion of Canada.
And it's yours, God. And you're real, and it's all yours. And it's just all the atheists in Canada are just cringing at it.
So yeah, I thought it was interesting that like that's what they wanted. They're like real happy with all the references to God in the national anthem.
Yeah.
But it's just like they reference sons. That's unacceptable. And it's just, I don't know. It's like, what are we about these days?
Who are we now? What's going on? Yeah, I don't know.
True North, strong and free. What a great little slogan.
True North, strong and free. Yes.
Great marketing.
Yes.
Loving it.
Oh, so good. Do you remember on the mission? We both served in the United States, so obviously there's a lot of patriotism.
Right.
In that particular country.
They love the troops.
Yeah. What did they do in your wards, wherever you were?
Well,
for that.
Because they like in America, like Remembrance Day or Armistice Day, whatever they call it.
Armistice Day.
Armistice. They don't really care for it. They're big about Memorial Day.
When's that?
That's in May. That's what we call Victoria Day, or now I think it's Aboriginal Day because we hate the monarchy in Canada now.
Okay.
It's hard to keep track of. I don't know.
We're a lot of changes here in Canada.
Everything's got to be gender neutral. Anything referencing the monarchy's got to change.
Yeah, all this kind of stuff makes Jordan Peterson very mad.
Yeah, it's like islands in the West Coast that are named after royalty.
I will not be compelled to speak.
Someone was saying they're like it seems like Troy hates Jordan Peterson because he's always mocking him and doing an impression.
No,
and I was like, I think it's because Troy respects him.
Best form of flattery. Yeah,
and loves his impressions.
I just love how good he is at, because the whole world is trying to like trip him up, you know.
Yeah.
And I just love watching him sort of dance around it and be like, "You've got to be more precise. Let's be more precise about it." And I'm just like, "Yeah, let's be more precise." I don't know. I like watching people who are good at stuff do the thing that they're good at, and he's good at sort of arguing with people.
Yeah. So yeah, the Memorial long weekend is like our Victoria long weekend. So they kind of they go out for that.
Yeah.
But then November 11th is kind of like someone might mention it.
Interesting. Yeah, this is our big one.
100 years.
100 years since 1918.
The end of World War I.
That's pretty cool.
Well, then you could argue the beginning of World War II.
True.
Because that little agreement was not as good as we thought it was.
Should I give? So I highly recommend, if anyone likes history at all, or if they have any interest in World War I or what those young men had to go through, listen to Hardcore History. It's a podcast. Have you listened to it, Lyndon?
I've heard you talk about it.
It's very good. I think it's still free right now for this particular series I'm about to recommend. It's called Blueprint for Armageddon. And it kind of, the title of it's like 20 hours of this guy who's got like a really good voice and he's interesting, sort of talking about what they had to go through. And just like the sheer uselessness of the death of so many people, like hundreds of thousands of people, of young men would die per battle. That's insane. That's like, I think 300,000 people died in all of the American Civil War. Mm-hmm. That was like one battle in World War I, of which there were many.
And let's not forget, like, all the soldiers that managed to not die in the trenches brought back the Spanish flu, and then millions died.
Yeah.
It's like World War I was the worst.
I think it probably was the worst, because he even talks about this on his program, where he's like, there were probably more brutal I mean, like, World War I was up there, but like there were other wars that were more, you know, like ancient Greek or anything where just like sword to sword combat. Mm-hmm. That's pretty brutal, but it's only going to last like a day. A long battle in the ancient world was like a day long, and then they're done, and then they go home and farm for like the next, I don't know, 8 months, and then they go back and do it again. That's sort of like how they did it. This was like nonstop, in the trenches all the time, people losing their minds, people getting shell shock, just like the amount of shells exploding around them at this constant rate for like years on end. If you made it through the war, like, you were never the same after that. So it's very interesting. I think it does give like a good perspective, you know?
Yeah. I know. It's like you got to remember that, and it was the end of that. So 100 years ago, ushered in modern warfare.
Yeah.
Brought in, World War II.
World War II.
Which was just a continuation of that war. I don't know.
Which war do you find the most interesting?
Well, always...
Do you find interest in war?
Well, because World War II has the benefit of, like, I feel like it was the last righteous war.
Yeah.
Because often there's the argument during Remembrance Day how we, like, it glorifies war, and...
Yeah.
It's like, it ain't nothing pretty about it. But yeah, it's like World War II was like the last, like, but even that was hardly righteous. We're all like, those Germans are causing a ruckus, taking over Europe. We got to go save the French and liberate those people.
Yeah.
It's like we had a real righteous cause to get out there.
He was Hitler was like this personification of like evil. Like it was good versus evil.
Yeah.
Instead of just side versus side.
And everyone just completely forgot about how years ago they provoked Germany into this way, into being the way it was.
Yeah. So true.
Geopolitics. But yeah, so it's like that was the last good war.
Yeah, it was the last like righteous.
Because you can watch like Band of Brothers, and it's like the Americans are like time to go be heroes. Like Canadians, Americans, we can look at like D-Day, and we're just like those guys were heroes.
Do you ever?
But it's hard. Like what heroes were there in World War I? Just needless death.
I know, and it's like,
and then modern day, it's like,
yeah, war.
Now it's just like everyone gets PTSD.
Yeah,
because they're like chasing after.
You go to like an occupation zone and then like go on patrols and then like lose a leg.
And then your Humvee gets blown up by people not wearing uniforms.
Yeah. Oh man, that's some crazy stuff. And it's like a lot of it's sort of shifted to like these sort of like the CIA is almost like the military arm of the United States now, like these splinter groups going out, like sort of like it's no longer a widespread mass, armies moving against each other. It's just these little like it's small units from each side going guerrilla forces fighting each other. Very interesting. Do you think that because like I'm sure there's even people listening to this now who are like, what are they doing? They're talking about war. They're like getting into the nitty gritty of war. This isn't mission story. Well, it's kind of mission stories, another kind of mission story. But what do you think about those people who think that any discussion of war or even any representation, even like the gory sort of representations that are accurate, are just, I don't know, propaganda. It's an advertisement for war. Is there legitimacy to that argument, do you think?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Like people who are, I don't know if anybody's pro-war, but like I think there are those.
No, I think there are people that are pro-war.
Well, they're pro. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't think I would hope, but you're probably right. Just like really Illuminati types who are like really high up, and that war is a industry, and there's profit to be made off of war, and there is. That's the craziest part.
Well, I think there's definitely like ideologues that are like. There's definitely people who are like, we got to go to war with the terrorists.
Well, the Book of Mormon, to bring it back to.
We were gonna bring it back there eventually.
Matter. Yeah, the Book of Mormon specifically sort of reflects that ideology of fighting's bad, killing's bad, except if you need to defend yourself. You should be able to defend yourself, and in fact, it's honorable to do so, and it's dishonorable to ignore your responsibility of going and fighting and defending yourself and your loved ones. And I would agree with that. I'm in that camp of like when sometimes you need to meet force with force on a national scale or whatever.
But I mean, even in the Book of Mormon, it's like bordering nations.
Yeah.
It's like the Lamanites are trying to take what's ours.
Mm-hmm.
We have to stop them.
Yeah.
They can't be doing that.
No.
But it's like at what point are you like, we need to have drones flying over top of Syria 24/7, launching missiles at people we don't like.
Right.
Does the Book of Mormon cover that? Is my question.
Yeah, it's interesting because war has changed. Have you seen one of those videos where it shows the feed from a drone, and they've got the sights on like a group of people or whatever, and you can hear the operator of the drone. They're like, okay, here they are. And then they do the strike, and then there's like an explosion on the screen. They're like, oh, no way. Oh, no. And it's just like this weird giddiness from the operator of the drone who's just way too excited about what just happened.
I have seen like those videos, like guys in like AC-130 gunships flying over and they come across a hillside of Taliban.
Yeah.
And they just like open up the minigun on them, and they're just so happy.
There's too much glee in their voice
from someone that's like miles away from it.
Yeah. And exactly. There was this book, it's called On Killing, and it's about this, it's written by a soldier and sort of the psychological effect that killing has on a person. And it's sort of like universal that like for the majority of people, taking a life has like a massive psychological impact. We're just like, on the one hand, we are designed to do it. Like there are sort of measures within us of like aggression and that sort of thing that come into play when we have to defend ourselves. We can, but it takes a toll, right? Like we're also designed to not kill, like for it to feel bad when we kill. Like it's not something we should want to do. And this guy in this book talks about like there's something about the proximity to the person that is being killed that has the most effect on you. So the closer you are to them, the more effect that's going to have on your psyche. And that there almost becomes this interesting, like if you stab someone, obviously that's the closest you can get, but also like if you're a sniper in the military and you have to see these people and then you take those shots and you see them die, so you're far away, but you're also like very close to them in a way.
They look pretty close in your scope.
Yeah. So I just thought that was very interesting. It's something that like that servicemen and women have to deal with. You know, it's just like how do you factor that in? I don't know.
Yeah, well, and I know because I've talked to some people with their military training, because they also have to like, it's like we got to train them to be fit and use the equipment. And they're like, and a little bit we got to train them how to kill people.
Yeah.
And so they'll like turn targets and be like, these are North Koreans, or like these are some Russians, and you gotta like dehumanize them.
Yeah.
To be able to be like, whoa, and like give soldiers a little bloodlust, and it's kind of like weird.
It is weird,
but also it's like necessary. So then, it becomes this thing where it's like you read the Book of Mormon and all the war chapters, and it's like, these are all metaphors for our spiritual preparation and our spiritual war. And I'm like, how do we turn those lessons into like modern day? What's the drones of our spirits?
Our spirits, and also of our lives, you know, like what are the things, I mean, bringing it back to JP, Jordan Peterson, he's someone who is
friend of the podcast,
Jordan Peterson. He's a guy who's really about doing the simple things in your life. It's like, how can you, if you want to make a big change in your life, you got to at least start with a small change.
You got to be good at the beginner skills.
Yeah, like how can you hope to progress if you can't even do the basic stuff like cleaning your room, you know, brushing your teeth. This is funny because my mission president actually said similar type of things. And he would talk about like, and this was his advice for like following the Spirit. He'd be like, if the Spirit's going to prompt you to do good things all day long. So that prompting might be make your bed. It might be brush your teeth. It might be, you know, any number of good things that you should be doing on a day-to-day basis, but maybe because of our human nature and our laziness, we don't want to do it. But we get those little impressions to do the good thing and do the right thing. So that's sort of like the same ideology. It's just like do the small things, do the good things. I forget why I was connecting that to one thing to the other, because we were talking about like military stuff. I forget what that was, but
you were gonna mention something about your time in, was it Fort Benning?
Yeah, Fort Benning. I was in Columbus, Georgia, where I spent a transfer. There's a military base there, Army base.
Isn't it the biggest?
It might be. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if
either
it is
population-wise or area-wise.
Yeah,
that's something someone could fact check on us.
The Army Ranger Training School, I think, is there, or at least a portion of it. I think it's like a jump school where they learn how to jump out of airplanes. which is pretty cool. I tell you, there was something, maybe it was because I was already in a military-esque environment. I don't want to like make any undue comparisons, but like missionaries are very regimented and they're very, the divisions are quite, I mean, it's a bit more of a sales team sort of a structure almost, but same sort of structure, hierarchical structure as like the military. And so maybe it's because I just appreciated the discipline of being a missionary or whatever at the time, but I just really wanted to join the Army. There was something about it. I was like, and then when I went on, we were lucky enough to get on to Fort Benning and to go around and visit some of the members there. I don't know, just seeing them, they were just so like, everyone had their stuff together and everyone was so like fit too. That was the other thing, is everyone was like, you'd meet these like 40, 50-year-old men and they're like fit. I was just like, man, I guess this is how you stay like cool and fit and like be a bad A your whole life, is just you join the Army. And so anyway, I think I like wrote my mom about that. And I was like, I want to join the Army, half joking. And I think she sent like a stern letter back and she's like, no, never do that. Never do that. But I can actually see, I can see why someone would want to join the military. I think it's actually, I don't know. There's like a discipline to it. There's a regimentation to it. There's an achievement. There's a brotherhood. That's a big part of it too. It's just like this fraternity, that I really like.
Well, I think the military has this, because back to true North, strong and free. It made me think about like strength. Like, doesn't the military represent that strength?
Yeah, strength.
So I think a lot of people are drawn to that.
Discipline. I don't know. I just really like the idea of being disciplined and that achievement, that sense of achievement that you can get there. You meet the coolest people too. I mean, I think I just kind of like, I like guns and I like, I'm interested in battle and like tactics and stuff like that. So like, I don't know. Some people are not into that, but I am. Mm-hmm. And so that was like kind of, it's like your whole job is to do what a lot of people try to do for fun, which is either go paintballing or like airsoft or play video games that simulate war. Yeah. This is their guy's job. Of course, the stakes are very high. Their lives are on the line, that kind of thing. And then there's the bravery aspect, that whole like self-sacrifice. And to me, I just think like that's what the sacrifice of Jesus Christ is. That's exemplified in that. Like when they're talking about like laying down their lives for their brothers, that's what Jesus did. That's it. So I don't know. That just really speaks to me. Like any story where someone is like self-sacrificing to save someone else, their brother in arms or anybody, I'm just like, ooh, get choked up.
I know, because, like I remember watching Hacksaw Ridge. Yeah. And I hated that guy. But then he's like, the battle's over, and he just keeps going up and down that ridge, hauling people off. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just something, something about it.
Yeah, there's something about war, because that's the whole thing. Because you look at the military, you talk about tactics. Yeah. Because there's like things. So it's like the military has protocols for like how to act. It's like, what is it? OMA? It's like the observe, orientate, something, act. Yeah. I don't remember exactly.
I know what you're talking about.
ODA. It's the ODA loop.
Okay, yeah.
It's observe, orientate, decide, action. I don't know. This is something I could easily look up. Like I just looked up that Fort Benning, 5th largest military base.
5th largest.
Top 5, but not the biggest.
Okay.
So it's like they have like these things where it's like the military has to have it for life or death situations. Mm-hmm. But then you can just apply it to your regular life. Yeah. Kind of like we read about war in the Book of Mormon. It's like, got to fortify your spirit. And then it's like, and you got to do the ODA loop in your regular life.
It's true. I mean, I feel like I'm just shouting out other podcasts that I like, but there's this guy named Jocko Willink, and it's like the craziest name, but this guy is also the manliest man. And he's this former Navy SEAL. He was in sort of the thick of it in Iraq and everything, and he just talks about like productivity, and he talks about like how do you sort of translate the things he learned as a Navy SEAL and like sort of apply it in your life to anything that you want to achieve. And I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he was talking about protocols, what you were just mentioning, and how the Army has and the military has protocols for any situation, just something that when these set of circumstances arise, you don't really have to think about it. You just enact the protocol. So instead of having, wasting time or even using sort of maybe our impaired judgment in a situation that could be high stress, instead of doing that, you just enact the protocol. And he was talking about like breaking up with someone. We don't really have a protocol. There's no like set protocol for it. So he's just like, day 1, eat a bucket of ice cream. Day 2, 8-mile run. Day 3, hot, cold baths, back and forth. Day 5 or whatever, So it's just like, and then by the end of it, you're done. You're no more mourning your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. And I just kind of liked that. I liked the idea, maybe not that specific thing, but like the ice cream part. But I don't know. I like the idea of having protocols in place.
I know. Well, yeah, because it's interesting. There's so many. I feel like I follow Business Insider on Twitter.
Yeah.
And they always have articles from Navy SEALs.
They do, yeah.
So like I remember the last one I was reading about, it's like the Navy SEALs like, you can't overplan things. It's like we never overplan our mission because you got to be flexible.
Yeah.
So I think part of their flexibility is those protocols.
Yeah.
Because it's like we don't try to plan a mission down to the T. We just have an objective and we kind of just go out and do it, and we have protocols in place.
Yeah. That was kind of the cool thing. That's the cool thing about the Navy SEALs that I like, is that their whole, like, they have to know at least one other language. I think maybe 2 other languages or something, right? Like they need to be able to speak the native dialect of wherever they're going. They need to work with the locals. They're sort of just inserted into these places, and there's not a lot of direction from like their superiors. They're just there. They know the objective, and now it's up to them to do it, right? To enact it, as they've been trained. They have the knowledge, they have the experience, and they know how to speak to those people in order to get the job done. Is there a comparison that we can make to how God works with us? Are we the Navy SEALs here on Earth? We know the job we need to do. Maybe we don't. Maybe we know what we need to do. Maybe sometimes, we climb up the chain of command for an answer that maybe we know it ourselves.
Maybe we overplan it.
Maybe we overplan.
And the protocols have already been given to us in the scriptures.
Maybe that's true.
And we just have to be professional operators in all aspects of our lives.
Oh, I love this analogy. I want to be a professional operator, a quiet professional in my life, being like just a part of a cadre of soldiers just working to be better or whatever. I don't know. I like it. There's a lot of comparisons that you could make from the military to a mission and serving a mission.
And they made a movie, God's Army, right?
God's Army. Yes.
Out there fighting Satan's army.
Boom. I don't know. Yeah. Plus, like those stakes of like, this is a war. It's just like a good.
I don't know. I used to say, we're at war, pick a side all the time.
Yeah.
As a
missionary or just in life?
In general, also on the mission. I think I got it from Stephen Colbert. Yeah. Stephen Colbert used to say that on his show all the time.
Right.
Because it's like there happened to be a war going on in the background. Yeah. So he'd always be like, we're at war, pick a side.
Pick a side.
No flippy floppies, no middle grounds. We're at war.
We're at war. Yeah, where he played this ultra conservative right winger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. There was I had a story. I think I might need to bake it a little more in my mind. It's just about a guy that we found on this military base where I served. And long story short, he was just sort of a tool. And maybe I'll think about it a little more. I don't know, Lyndon. We've sort of dived into military stuff this episode. I guess
war and violence and
our tribute to the soldiers. It's been interesting actually. Because I am quite interested in this stuff, and I like learning about it. I like talking about it. If you like it as well, check out that podcast, Hardcore History. The series about World War I is. What's it called? Blueprint for Armageddon. It's 5 parts, like 5 hours each or something. It's quite a listen, but check it out if you're interested. Lyndon, do you ever think about how your name sometimes sounds like Ding Dong?
It's got kind of the same little rhythm and cadence.
Ding Dong. What else is going on? Oh, there was like a whole thing.
The Book of Mormon.
The Book of Mormon, dude. Yeah, that's right.
What's our runtime at?
We're at 51 minutes. We could see how far into
Wedge it in.
This might be like a nothing thing, so yeah, it might be. Who knows?
You wanted to talk. We're back to the YSA conference.
Back to the YSA conference.
You need to report on the little... Was he the keynote speaker?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Keynote speaker.
Yeah, so this guy, what was his name? Where did I put that? Oh, here it is. Okay. Boom. Lucky drawer open. This guy's name was, never mind, it doesn't have it written on this particular thing. Son of a bee. Anyway, there was a guy at the, I think it was Harry Anderson or something. It was like the name of a painter.
That sounds 100% made up.
Yeah.
I think
it was Peter. It was Peterson. Because I remember
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, right. Because I remember thinking like this guy's name is he's got the same name as Dr. Peterson. Because they've been like, thank you, Dr. Peterson. So anyway, this guy's name was I'm sure if you looked up Dr. Peterson, Book of Mormon guy, you could find it. But he gave a talk at this YSA conference a couple weeks ago. And his whole thing, it was all about evidences of the Book of Mormon. He was looking at it from purely a historical artifact, evidence-based
You brought up that you were on your way to go see him.
Yeah.
And I roasted him.
Yeah.
About it,
What did you say?
Evidences for the Book of Mormon means you have no faith.
Yeah, you have no faith.
But also, fun to look into, I hope.
Fun to look into. It is one of those things where, listen, there are some things about the history and about the Book of Mormon that raise questions. Mm-hmm. And so I like that he was trying to answer those questions, because you have a lot of people in the opposite direction trying to poke holes in the Book of Mormon and trying to undermine it, using some of those historical and things within the text that maybe don't quite make sense as far as we have all the information regarding it. So I like that he was, first of all, building a whole life and career, I guess. I guess he gets paid to do this. So
staking his life on it.
Yeah. I think his strongest argument was within the first minutes of his talk. He basically said the fact that the Book of Mormon exists is something that has to be addressed and it has to be dealt with. And anyone who is a doubter towards Joseph Smith or the Book of Mormon or any of it, they have to deal with the Book of Mormon. Like it exists. It's 520 pages, something like that.
Oh, it's out there.
Of stuff that's like, how do you reconcile this thing? Because it exists. And
it makes some claims.
And the claims are that it was all translated within a period of time that's like shorter than anyone could really write a book
Right.
in.
Yeah. They reference real world locations.
Real world locations, or I mean,
as I've heard, they're like, it's not exactly a geographical or geological primer.
Yeah.
But it's like, they're like, hey, we went eastward of here.
Yeah. It's like if you follow some of the directions, it does make some sense. Like, especially in the old world, and like the Jerusalem stuff, he kind of talks about that, and about Nahum is in the Book of Mormon. Like, that is an interesting thing. Like, if assuming that Joseph Smith wrote it himself or with the help of some other people, to say Nahum and to have it accidentally be right, where they actually did, if you follow the direction that they chart out in the Book of Mormon, and where they sort of make the stop and they bury Ishmael or whatever at the place called Nahum, and then you actually go to that place, and it's got NHM or whatever those corresponding letters would be, and that's written there. I've seen some of the evidence sort of contrary to it, where they're like, there were no vowels. It could be a number of different things or whatever. I get that, but also it's like, come on, it's interesting. It's an interesting evidence for the Book of Mormon.
It's like when they unearthed the chiasmic structure.
Yeah.
And it was like very much in tune with how like ancient old world people would write. They're just like, huzzah.
Yeah, that's another one where it's like you start the beginning, the front and the back is sort of like mirror images, and it meets in the middle for a story. And a prime example of that is Alma 36 or something. It's where he's talking about his conversion. Mm-hmm. That's all in that chiasmic structure, which is this ancient Judaic way of writing, I guess, sort of this poetic way.
Do you talk about olive trees or anything like that?
He did, yeah, he did.
Because they also often talk about how it's like, how would anyone in 1830 New York know about the in and outs of like olive tree? I mean, it's not impossible, but
I remember
it's also like, what are the chances someone nails that?
I remember him talking about the one major gripe that people have for that particular, and he's referring to, which is that chapter? It's like the really long chapter of that book. That's Jacob, chapter 5.
Yeah, that's the allegory.
Is that the one? And it's like this long chapter, and it's all about the digging and everything. And there's a complaint most people have about that one chapter, and it is that if you graft in a wild branch to a non-wild olive tree, that the Book of Mormon claims that you can produce non-wild olives from that, where in reality it will just continue to produce wild fruit or whatever, olives. And what he said was that this is where it's into like an allegory, and it's like it's about how we can change, and it's about how we can become better or whatever.
Because I think the whole point when he wrote it is people who understand olives and olive tree husbandry are just like, that's not possible.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, it is possible with the gospel.
Through Jesus. Yeah. That's sort of the whole point of that. I mean, he brings up some points that are... One of the things that I would like to look into more is the whole idea of like looking at things through spiritual eyes. Because there are some claims, or there's some confusion kind of early in the church about the way that individuals who, like the 8 witnesses and the 3, there's some claims about how they looked upon the plates with spiritual eyes, or the eyes of their understanding, or basically that they saw it in their mind's eye. Like that it wasn't an actual physical touching and seeing and feeling, but it was like they could, which is not unusual to this time period where people sort of claiming visions, like just more people claimed visions and miracles back in the day.
Yeah.
And so for them to say that, like, yeah, actually we saw it with our mind's eye, with our spiritual eye, like in our minds we saw it. So that's something that I think he touches on briefly. He does mention that his argument against it, and I have a little problem with this. His argument against that is that none of the three witnesses ever abandoned their testimony, even though they left the church. Mm-hmm. They never abandoned their testimony of that thing. He sort of like caps that with Emma Smith, Joseph's wife, and that story about how like she saw the plates on the table covered in the cloth, as they were always covered in a cloth, and she would like sort of fan the sides of the plates with her thumb. She could like she could make out that they were metal plates, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. It's like it's hard because she left the church too over polygamy. It was sort of her big thing. So I don't know.
I thought it was mostly the death of her husband.
Death of her husband, but also like she wasn't going to be a part of a church that continued to practice polygamy, which the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was. Under Brigham Young, that's what...
Yeah, because she stuck around and started off the whole RLDS thing.
Yeah, which is Mormonism without polygamy. Like, it's so funny. All of the failed organizations were the ones that didn't have polygamy in them. And I don't know if that's a correlation or if just the guy who wanted polygamy to be in the church, Brigham Young, was actually just the strongest candidate to lead the church and to a place where it could actually thrive, like the Salt Lake Valley. I don't know. I mean, it's a whole other question to ask ourselves if God... Was polygamy a commandment from God, or was there some going off the rails a little bit?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, I say.
Column B. We could talk about. It actually wouldn't be terrible to talk about sort of its own thing, but or just to dive into these topics a little more. But anyway, maybe for the time being, that's good. I enjoyed this guy, Dr. Peterson, his stuff, his talk. He had some interesting points.
He didn't get into geography, though, did he?
Not in a big way. Yeah, there were some things where...
one day we're going to have that episode.
Yeah.
Where it's like, listen, everyone, we're here to present every theory. We'll have a little debate. We'll all pick
a side.
Pick our pet theory.
We got to have Theo come on. Or maybe not. I don't know. He'd be like, why are we even having this conversation? No, but if he wants to, you're welcome, Theo, to come on. But yeah, because that's the thing, right? There are some... And then there's the archaeological stuff and just the geographical stuff. And like, where was the Book of Mormon? And Dr. Peterson, this guy, thinks it is in South America. That's where he leans toward. But how did the plates get all the way up in New York? Good question. I don't know.
Great Lakes theory, baby.
Great, yeah.
One hill theory, baby.
Baby, it was all over a very short places. Anywho, I think that's good for now.
It's good. It's a good little talk.
Good little primer. Maybe good. If you guys want to hear more about that, maybe send in your questions and we can actually like do some real research and come back to you with some real, as much of an answer as you can get to questions like these. But nevertheless, the discussions are interesting, I think.
I'd say so.
Sure. Well, I guess you got to go to work pretty soon.
Yeah.
So we should close it out.
Wrap it up. I don't even know what you're going to title this episode.
I know. I know.
Send us your emails. What should we title this episode?
We'll just call it Untitled. Yeah, send us some emails. Send us what you think. And we do appreciate the emails. I know you guys have opinions about stuff, but you're like, I won't write in. Please write in. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you have to say about these things, about military stuff, about porn stuff, about the Book of Mormon stuff, any questions related to any of these things. The discussion is what helps to move us forward in our knowledge of these things. So please.
The great synthesis of ideas.
Yes. So write in, email us at themissionsstoriespodcast@gmail.com, or we're on the Instagram, The Mission Stories Podcast. Listen to us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, and, of course, iTunes podcasts. Lyndon, anything else we need to cover that we haven't already covered?
I think we got to keep it simple. Stay true and faithful.
Yeah, bye-bye.